Hello, I'm Riana Milne. Welcome to the show, Lessons in Life and Love, where I bring you cutting-edge information by amazing guests that are coming on to the show, and we'll talk about information that is going to increase your life satisfaction and all your love relationships. And today I'm so proud to bring to you Rich Salenza, a critically acclaimed film producer, director, writer, author of 2 books, The Model's Bible and the amazing book we're going to talk about today. He has over 35 years experience in the fashion, entertainment, and garment industries, and he's known as the go-to person for that type of information and design. And this book, Wingman, is the ultimate guide to getting the woman of your dreams, and is actually the counterpart to my book, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. So we have been having a great time conversing about our 2 books and all the information that we give to our men and women to help them find amazing love in their life. So hey, Rich, with all this information we've been discussing, this could be an excellent reality show down the road, so you never know.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So tell me, Rich, what inspired you to write The Wingman?
Well, I grew up in the environment of a nightclub. My father, when I was 2 years old, purchased a nightclub, owned one until I was roughly around 14 years old. From there, he went on to move to Florida and opened one of the largest vending companies in Central Florida. I worked there with my father until I was in my late 30s. And in between that, I also was a filmmaker. So I was around a lot of people, obviously, men and women. But mainly what I really found interesting was throughout my whole life being involved in nightclubs, bars, and gentlemen clubs, and all different environments where there's a lot of men and women kind of, I guess you could say, picking each other up. I saw a kind of an identity crisis. I didn't see people genuinely being who they are when they actually met or when they first started dating. So I really wanted to write a book. It's not a pickup artist type book. I wanted to write a book that was genuine and helped men kind of find who they truly are, their core values, and kind of help them really be honest and truthful with who they are and the type of woman they want to go for, and not just kind of settle. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So tell me, why do, in your opinion, most first dates don't go well?
Well, I think because there's a phoniness that's involved when you do a first date. I don't think a lot of men or women are themselves. They kind of perceive themselves to be different than who they are, and they kind of want to fit into the flow of what is expected of them on a first date. And they also kind of become, I call it kind of a copycat dater. They kind of fall into behaving the way the other person's kind of behaving. Mm-hmm. And I don't think either one is actually behaving the way they normally would behave.
Others both are nervous, and they're both putting their best face forward. And that happens for several months into the dating process. They're not quite their authentic selves.
Absolutely.
And that's why I always say there's a 90-day rule to really getting to know someone,
Gotcha.
And to relax and really try to get to know somebody before you make a judgment, should we be exclusive or not. So taking your time is an important part of the dating process. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think that process, though, kind of what happens is you get caught in a rut of them thinking you're a certain way when you're actually not.
Exactly.
So that carries on through actually for long periods of time.
Right. Now, being a guy, I want to ask your opinion about the app Tinder. Because I advise my women, I don't think it's a great way to meet guys because it's about instant gratification and meeting somebody now, and it's really known as like a hookup site. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think if you go back, let's go back to the original time when we met people, say, 100 years ago. We met people through our friends and family.
Correct.
And that was the really only proper way to meet. As time went on, you obviously met people in different environments. Mm-hmm. So if you took the 70s, then you're in nightclubs and bars.
Right.
If you moved on from there, let's say, and fast forwarded to social media, which was like the original dating websites, people were like, are you crazy? You don't know these people. Why are you doing this? Which is kind of the same environment you went through in the bar. Or nightclubs or whatever, that's how you met. But now if you fast forward to the next generation with something like Tinder, mm-hmm. I think Tinder is only used the way you use it. So if you fall in the trap of using it the way it's kind of has a reputation, that's your own doing. But I think it's really an app, and they always say it's for men. I actually think it's a great app for women. It's something that I'm not going to use, but if I was a woman, a lot of women get perceived by a lot of men that they're not interested in. But if you look at Tinder, it gives an opportunity for a woman to actually reach out from a look or an identity and say, you know what, I'm attracted to him. I can start a conversation from this point on. What she does from there on out is her own problems or her own fault.
Right.
So if she falls a victim of doing something that she didn't want to do, that's on her. But for her actually having the opportunity to quickly meet somebody and start a conversation, you can't beat that. Men, on the other hand, they're always on the go. So they want to meet women in any way they can. But Tinder's actually quite the opposite. I think it's more of a woman's than a man's. So.
Well, that's interesting because when I coach women, and I do believe in the dating profiles and the platforms, I think you get a lot more information on a man. You see even the way they write, their level of intellect and their hobbies and their activities and how they describe themselves. Are they someone with confidence, or are they skirting the issue about really who they are? They're psychologically, a platform tells you a whole lot of information, where Tinder is yes, no, you're hot, you're not, never mind. So you don't really get into the essence or the quality or character of a person. So that's why I'm not really keen for Tinder. And also psychologically, we have been taught as women that the men should still pursue. Because if the man has this, and it's very subconscious, but if he feels he has won her, and she's out dating many people, and he's aware of that, but he's won her, he's going to appreciate her so much more and be more attracted and connected because he's actually won her away from the pack. And that is from caveman and cavewoman days, and it's deeply psychological. But what do you think about that?
I kind of disagree
Okay.
a little bit. I kind of understand. You don't understand the pressure it is for a man to continuously be the one to go after the woman. Women don't know that. They're kind of in the backdrop, and they're always wanting to be kind of in the spotlight. Let's put it that way. They don't have to deal with the rejection aspect of that. But as far as Tinder goes, again, Tinder or any dating website, women control the game. So no matter how you look at it, women control the rules.
Okay.
And I think when you do see something like Tinder, if I was in a bar right now and I saw an attractive woman, most likely she would never be the one to confront me or ask for my number. It's always up to me.
However, if a woman does come up and just says, "Hi, how are you tonight?" You kind of like that. It's like, great, she was attractive. You were looking at her. You were a little afraid to make the first move, but if she made the first move, you would like that? I wouldn't mind that, but I think that's far and few between. Okay, because I do educate, like my ladies, say hi to everybody. If you're sitting there alone at a bar and there's a gentleman next to you, say hi, how you doing? Are you from this area? Just casual conversation. And then if they're interested, they would definitely let you know in that conversation.
I think our belief systems are a lot different than the younger generation because they're technology driven. So for me and you to talk this way doesn't make sense to them. Just like when you probably talked to your parents and said, I'm going to a nightclub and I met a guy and I was dancing with him, they'd be like, are you out of your mind? It's almost the same thing.
Right.
But technology is how they actually communicate now. You're kind of talking in a different way. I'm not saying either one's wrong. But if you look at how they're going to communicate has to work for the environment they're in. A lot of women, I think, are more comfortable going to Tinder and going, he's cute and I'm very happy that, and I like him, he likes me, and he accepted me. We already know we're attracted to each other. Now I can start the conversation and lead it with also not having to be face-to-face, because a lot of women like men, or they meet them face-to-face, and then before you know, in 5 minutes, they're like, get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
And you can you can kind of delete them as you go through and find out, once you do have a connection now, now you can kind of go meet them. But you didn't have to do or wait for all these other situations to happen to get to that point.
Right. And I also explain, too, when you're on a dating platform, do not write back and forth constantly. Do a couple of conversations, definitely get the man's last name and a phone number in case you get lost or you're late for the date. But you should Google search who you're going to meet, and definitely, if you're a female, tell a girlfriend where you're going and the gentleman's name. And I say Google search them because, again, if you're in the professional age range, there should be something on LinkedIn or something on the internet describing who this person is. That gives you the confidence level that they are who they say they are. But it's a great way to meet people for men and women to get back out there, younger or older. However, with the internet and app generation that we're talking about, the younger generation, I have a lot of people that I'm coaching in their 20s that are very frustrated, especially the ladies. It's like, Rihanna, I want to be married and have a family, and these guys just want to play, or they think the next best one is out there. What advice would you have for the younger women who are looking for that committed partner for marriage and a family?
Well, the first thing I would say is never give your phone number out. Like you mentioned, I would really only strictly go Facebook or Twitter, because it's a lot easier to delete somebody from social media than it is to change your phone number. That's one thing. But as far as your question it's very complicated nowadays, I think, because, there's a lot of women out there, obviously, that are lonely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are lonely for a lot of their own reasons. And same with men.
Right. Psychologically, we got to help them through that depression and the anxiety of dating and...
Well, I think they have to be honest with themselves and genuine, and also see things from a man's point of view, mm-hmm. and be a little more open-minded.
Right.
Even when they're out or they're socializing with people. I think once women get hurt, and a lot of women do obviously get hurt, I think the shields go up, and they're afraid to sometimes be who they are. Mm-hmm. Very similar to a man. Mm-hmm. And if they're genuine, even if they're on an online dating site or just meeting people,
right.
Not in a situation where they're always complaining. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of women, they find themselves complaining a lot about their past boyfriends or what happened in their past.
The past in the past, totally.
Right. You really got to understand, no one wants to hear that. I say that in the book about the men. No one cares about what your ex-wife did or what your girlfriend did. Or
leave the exes in the past.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think women kind of have a tendency of bringing a lot of that up or carrying that baggage with them. And they really just got to let that go.
Right.
I think that's one main thing.
Absolutely. I always say give anybody you're dating 100% chance. Right. And look at the dating process as really fun. You're just getting out to meet new people. And again, by the time I coach somebody and they're feeling amazing about their life and themselves and all their different life spheres, they are ready to go out and date just to meet new friends in the area and just have a good time. And that's the whole idea. Just show up real, genuine. I'm just meeting a new friend. Don't put the pressure on yourself. Don't put the pressure on your date to be perfect. Just show up and have a good time. And it's a whole different attitude for dating versus being nervous about, is this the one? Drop that.
Absolutely.
It's
all about having fun. I can't stand people that, I call it interviews. They're interviewing you on a date.
Right.
Even though in reality, this is an interview. You meet two people, mm-hmm. and you're kind of feeling each other out. It would be the same as if a business environment or kind of meeting somebody and wanting to date them. You really are trying to figure each other out.
Exactly.
What kind of gets confusing there is when you come off too strict or too strong, and I call them the interview, because a woman starts nailing you with a lot of questions, and men do the same as well. It's very uncomfortable. I don't think that's the right time or place to do that. When you go on a date, it is actually time to have fun and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
However, a few questions are good, and I bring them up in my book because
Absolutely.
You want to know definitely, is this someone that you could see yourself with? And in my guidelines, by the second date, you'll know if there's any toxic behavior. And I want to talk to you about that right after this commercial break.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome. We're back with Lessons in Life and Love with Rich Salenza, my guest today, and I'm so glad that you're here. I know our viewers are learning so much. So let's get back to it.
Okay.
We were talking right before the break about what would you advise men to watch out for? What are some red warning flags or toxic behaviors from a date on a woman that they should be looking for in the first or second date?
Well, one of them was like the interview process, like we said.
Okay.
I think that's really coming off very strong. But also, like you described earlier, I really think you need to do research on someone you date. Mm-hmm. For me, actually, to go out with somebody, to go that far with them, I definitely want to know who they are.
Exactly.
And I usually want to know if they know someone who I know as well, because then I can kind of get firsthand with who they are.
Meeting someone through a friend is actually a great way to meet somebody.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, if you do Google them, obviously, kind of research them a little bit. People are always like, hey, you don't want to stalk me, this or that. The reality is it's not stalking. It's kind of protecting what environment you're getting into.
You have to protect yourself, absolutely.
Absolutely. So that I would really research that person. Mm-hmm. And then even when you're on a date with them, or if you do end up going on a date, kind of you're going to obviously pick up vibes here and there mm-hmm. on their behavior. And If you communicate through text or however you met or conversation, you really got to pay attention on their core values because
Right.
they got to actually match up with yours.
Exactly. I mean, in other words, if the text is becoming too sexual early on, that's a warning flag for my people. That's what I coach.
Depending on what you want out of this person is actually going to what's going to kind of inspire. So if you're actually attracted to her just for sex, then that's a whole different environment. If you're actually looking to start a relationship, obviously, I think the slower you go, I always said, the much
Right.
better off you are.
Correct.
In my perspective.
Yes,
that.
and then like another warning sign I would have for my women, if they're out there and a man has 5 martinis, there's a sign that there's probably an alcohol issue
Obviously.
there. So what else would you say for the guy to keep an eye on that could be a warning?
Well, this is something I think that's very interesting is if I go on a date with somebody new, I would take them out of their environment and mine as well.
Okay.
So because a lot of times when you date people, you go into the environment you're all comfortable with. So if I met you at a Starbucks down the street, we would go to a dinner place that my friends owned or whatever. She most likely would have been there as well or knows the environment. You don't really get a grasp on the journey, I guess you could say. I like to take them out of their environment and say go 30 miles out and go to a place neither one of you have ever been. And even if she had a boyfriend before, she most likely has never been there.
Okay.
So you start the journey together in a new environment.
Okay.
And you also kind of get a vibe on how they behave in a different environment.
Right.
Because in a comfortable environment, we're always kind of comfortable. If you take them out of there and you kind of see how they behave.
Right.
And that could be a restaurant or anything in that nature. So.
I mean, in my book, because part of finding love is knowing the qualities and characters to look for, and also the other half is what to avoid and stay away from. So I do go into the questions that you should ask while you're on a date. And one that I say is, asking about the family dynamics, ask what does mom and dad do, where are they living, how was it when you were growing up, what's a good childhood memory, and if you're hearing a lot of pain and dysfunction in the family, that's a warning sign. So there's a lot more that I go into in my book. Again, because you want to be aware of those. It is an investment of time, energy, and money when you're dating. So you want to make sure you are investing that time with someone that you think does have the core values, like you mentioned, like trust and integrity and honesty. And if you are looking for a committed relationship, you saw on that dating profile, I want a relationship. That's what I'm looking for, to take this journey for the rest of my life with someone special.
Right.
So in a dating profile, what do the men look for when a woman is writing them up? Anything in particular?
I think men, for the most part, look visually first at what the woman looks like. I mean,
That's
that's
their
really
caveman brain.
You can't blame them because that's kind of how I'm not saying we're all programmed that way,
Right.
but for the most part, we are a visual stimulated type species.
So what is it what type of women are they typically choosing? Why are they choosing the wrong woman in many cases?
Well, I think a lot of times, a lot of things we do are based on the situation we're in our life right now. So
Okay.
if a man's been going out and like trying to hit on a lot of women and being rejected and hasn't been with a woman for quite a while, he has a different agenda. The same with being a man who's been with a lot of women lately and he hasn't had good luck, then maybe he is ready to settle down. Mm-hmm. So depending on what he feels at that time in his life, I think is what dictates everything, and that's the same with women as well.
Okay. That's why I think coming from a point of strength and personal self-esteem and confidence is essential before you even start going out to date. So don't date when you're coming from depression or a bad breakup and you're not healed and over it yet. Don't go out with a point of desperation or neediness. Have your life totally together, feeling amazing about your life, great energy. And when you show up for that date, you're going to just feel amazing about yourself and meeting a new friend. So it's a whole different attitude and inner light when you're feeling great about life. So do the coaching that you need first before you get out on the date. So and do learn the questions that you should be asking when you're on the date.
Yeah, when I think of dating, you got to have some familiarity to who you're dating, but you don't, and we discussed this before, it can't be identical, because when you date somebody, you want somebody who's bringing things that you're constantly learning. If I date somebody that has the exact background, same nationality, and all the same interests I have, that's great at the beginning, but as time goes on, truthfully, it kind of gets boring. But if you do date somebody that's very spontaneous, that has a different nationality or different interest in all, and works with your core values and your beliefs and kind of believes in your identity and vice versa, that I think will just build on strength, because you need to be stimulated, I believe, in a relationship for long
Absolutely.
term. I don't
Absolutely.
mean physically, obviously. I mean just mentally.
Yes.
On both levels.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Anyway, so.
Yeah. What would you say makes a man want to commit?
I think a lot of men want to commit with the right woman. They don't put themselves in position to find the right woman.
Okay.
I kind of write that in the book. Well, I think they're intimidated. And I also think they get confused by what type of woman they want. So I know a lot of guys, if I'm around a lot of models, they're like, Rich, I want a model. I want a gorgeous actress. I'm like, for one, you don't even know how to handle that type of woman. Not even from a financial point. I don't mean it like that, like everybody's high maintenance. Just from an insecurity situation of being jealous.
Right.
Also, you have nothing in common with this person. Just because you visually think she's gorgeous, and even if she did like you and you're handsome, again, when you get down to it, if I'm a cop, I'm not saying a cop can't date a model.
Right.
Most likely, in the long term, how is that going to work out?
Yeah.
But if you take a cop, for instance, and he wants a woman, he's really got to find a woman that understands him and has the patience to deal with the guy who goes out and does that every night.
Right, exactly.
So you have to put yourself in a position to find the right woman and also have the patience to find the right woman. So it's a combination, and you have to put yourself in environments where those type of women are.
Right. I mean, we know basically men love that hot, beautiful woman. However, I also teach my guys, if there's a scale to 1 to 5, start with a 3. A 3 to 4 of a person that you think is absolutely amazing.
Right.
You love her personality. You guys share maybe the love of learning and travel together. So there's plenty that you can do together because you have those common interests. But yet, like you said, okay, maybe she likes to ski and you don't, but you're willing to learn. That's a new adventure that you could do together. So yes, the core values have to match that integrity, the honesty. If you want to marry and have a family, and again, if you're in your 20s and 30s, you do not even pick a guy that says, I just am into dating. Because you're not going to change a guy. If a guy says, I'm not good enough for you, believe him. Right? If he says, I don't want a commitment, believe him. Is that true? They kind of tell you from honesty.
I think sometimes they can be, they change their minds like everybody else depending on as time goes on.
Right. But I usually say listen to what he has to say because he's sharing this with you because he's trying to tell you. I don't think most people are malicious. They want you to know where they are in life. And a lot of men are really into their career in their 20s and 30s. So he may not be ready for that family yet. Or he wants to know inside himself he's got enough money put aside and can provide for the family.
Absolutely.
So, if you're in the 20s and 30s, you want to look and you're on a dating platform, look for a guy that says, I'm really looking for marriage and a family. That's the guy you want to date.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, going back to what we originally said, is you kind of start looking for men or women in the wrong spots right off the bat.
Right.
If you're at a sports bar looking for a woman that you want that's this, I'm not saying you can't find her there, but most likely she won't be there.
Right.
And how many people go to nightclubs and go, I hate being at clubs. It's the only place I'm going to meet girls. Or, I'm not a nightclub. Or women always say, hey, I'm never in clubs. Or I don't like this or that. You're like, well, then why are you there?
Exactly.
If you're meeting men, that's where I'm going to meet men. Well, if men are in nightclubs, and the men there usually we know why they're in nightclubs, what type of man do you really think you're going to pick up in the nightclub? Again, not saying that you can't find the right man there, but if you're interested in reading, you're very educated, you can go to different groups, and I don't care if it's Barnes and Nobles or you go to universities, you surround yourself with the right type of man. You don't go to a nightclub if you have a PhD and you want to find a man that kind of matches your identity.
And that's what you look for on the dating platform, someone with your educational match and has these same common interests and so on.
Right.
Exactly. So, Rich, tell our viewers where they can get your book, The Wingman.
Wingmanthebook.com. It's an ebook, actually. So I have it there. You can also go to my website, richcelenza.com, and that's Rich, CELENZA.com. That's my consulting webpage. So both of those you can find the book at.
Well, Rich, we could talk for hours, and we already have, and we're probably going to continue, and I'm so thrilled that I met you.
Me too.
And we are talking about many situations, maybe even a retreat down the road. A television show would be amazing. So, we are very concerned about you finding that love that you deserve, and I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom with me, and to all the men and women that we coach and our readers and our viewers, We wish you to find that emotionally healthy, evolved human being. So again, look for us in the future working together because we have so much to share. And as always, I wish you a blessed, amazing life and for you to have the love that you deserve. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Been my dream, as far as I can possibly remember, to help as many people as I can, to be a part of them living the greatest life possible, to live a happy, healthy, stronger life. We are all put on this planet for a reason, and that's to do something great, whether it be to be an amazing full-time mom, or to make people laugh, a healer even. Whatever it is, that special talent, that special greatness, it's unique to all of us, and when we find it, when we act upon it, it makes you feel completely fulfilled, absolutely beautiful in every way, and mostly ridiculously alive. You cannot achieve this sense of happiness unless you're healthy. And you cannot achieve this happiness unless you're stronger. Through a series of videos and weekly shows, I want to inform you. Mostly I want to motivate and I want to inspire you, challenge you to live a better life, to be the best you can possibly be. I want to assist you on your journey to find your greatness. Welcome to Happy, Healthy, Stronger.